Hi, welcome to Laura's View and Tarot 2. I'm really glad you're here. Today's date is Wednesday, November 1st, 2023. Well, the United States has a new Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, and he and his Republican cohorts have put forth a funding bill for Israel. Let's take a look at it, including commentary about it. And then we're going to do a read that doesn't seem to connect, but that's what rabbit trails are all about, right? Seeing if we can get tangent A and tangent B to find out if there's any connectedness between them. It's going to make sense soon, I promise you. Just a second here. Okay, Ariel, a Twitter X content creator that I follow and really have a lot of admiration for, reposted this. The Rothschilds, Khazarian own Israel. The Rothschilds, Khazarian own Federal Reserve. The Rothschilds, Khazarian own the IRS. Mike Johnson is billing them and putting the tab on their table to pay for a war they started so they could take land from the Palestinians by using Hamas, by attacking Israeli citizens and blaming it on Palestine. Okay, go back up here. If we send IRS dollars to Israel, that's owned by that, and the IRS is owned by them. In other words, it's like, yeah, we'll fund you, and then we're taking the money straight from the same place it came from. Okay, there was breaking news that House Republicans have released the new Israel aid bill. It offsets $14.3 billion in Israel aid with $14.3 billion in cuts to the IRS. This bill includes zero aid for Ukraine. Do you support this? And conversation went back and forth below that, the comments. One person said they wish they had simply stopped with the cutting of the IRS budget. And Ariel responded that inadvertently, that's exactly what is happening. Because after today, there are places in the Middle East that the US dollar is no longer welcome. Iraq is one of those places. They are moving to their own dinar currency. Now, going to take a little rabbit trail into fiat currency again with you guys. Fiat currency, there's never been one in the history of our world that has not failed. And the US was never going to be an exception. Never. Fiat currencies ask you to have faith in the fact that they are printed responsibly, but not necessarily backed by a tangible asset. And that is why ultimately with the ebb and flow of integrity and just historical fluctuations in power and dynamics in different governmental structures, eventually fiat dollars fail. So we've been looking forward to that. Now we know that when the failure comes, it's not going to be easy. I've often said, I truly believe there is a better alternative that we'll be going to, and that alternative is asset backed. And that regular people like you and I, who don't have major stock market things we're playing with and commodities and, speculative investments, things like that, our money's going to be one-to-one exchange. So I don't concern myself with it. And I try to do minimal reading about finances in general. But let's talk about this financing to Israel, because Israel is no longer the golden child in people's eyes. And at one time, it was considered almost sacrilege to say anything negative about any support or cooperative agreements that were done with Israel. But this current conflict that they have engaged themselves in, there's not a lot of support here stateside to fund whatever is going on there. And shenanigans are the least of it, in my opinion. Laura's View. Okay. Well, I had a reader, now this is where we go into rabbit trail B, that asked if I would read about the amount of the increase in anti-Semitism in the United States. And I want to be very clear, because I'm going to try to post this on YouTube, and they are very strict about any kind of content that includes HATE, that I am not advocating any kind of dislike or disharmony or ill will towards anybody. So let's be clear about that. What I did want to do, though, is I have trust and faith in the human race. I consider myself, even though it's still a process, even for me, that I'm waking up. I wanted to be always on the side of good and light and all things bright. Absolutely. But I'm wondering if what is being billed by the mainstream media as anti-sentiment is really the fact that more and more people are getting to be aware of the Khazarian connections, the Rothschild connections, the 13 family kind of connections and the shenanigans involved with that. And that's why we are consciously and of our free volition removing our consent and our support from big events that are planned to harvest our reserves, our resources, our energy, our emotions, what have you. So I would like to see if what I'm going to ask the universe. Okay, we've the funding of the conflict in Israel didn't have a lot of support in the United States, and while the media is trying to bill that as well, that must mean that there's a rise in anti-Israel sentiments. I'm going to ask if there's any truth to the speculation that what's really going on is people are waking up to the profiteering of warmongering, to the fact that certain families are behind a lot of international shenanigans. And if that's what's going on, more than a rise in anti-Israel or a certain religion's precepts. Okay. Again, I'm trying to speak carefully here, but very clearly that my question is it because people are waking up, because they're smart, getting smarter, doing their own critical thinking, or are they truly, is there a rise in that sentiment? Let's see what the universe has to say. 1 second. I'm going to switch the camera. You can watch me deal the cards and we'll find out together. Okay, with the struggle going on to get support for sending financial aid to the conflict going on in the Middle East, is this what is the cause behind it? Plus additional insights and information the universe wants us to know. Are Americans just tired of all our money going overseas to be laundered and used to harm innocent people? Have we just had enough, or are people waking up to connections like the Khazarian Mafia, the Rothschilds, the shenanigans gang, as I refer to all of them? Let's see. Okay, Queen of Cups, strength. Seven of Cups, Wheel of Fortune, Judgment. This is a good question. Knight of Swords, and Page of Cups. Okay, I'm going to talk about the insights the cards are giving me, and then we'll, well, hello, Allie. And then we'll look at elements in the cards that lead me to say that. Okay. Our question was indicated by the Queen of Cups, a card that typifies emotional intelligence. So right there, we have a nod to when we said, why is there such a struggle to get some support for what's going on with Israel? And right there, it's that emotional intelligence is factoring in here. Okay. And it's getting stronger. The strength card is clarifying that. The strength card has infinity to it. And that's good because that is actually what our potential is, as far as where we can go as a discerning race of people and where we can go in our own personal and spiritual development and development as a human race. Okay, So we're getting stronger and strengthening those emotional intelligences that lead us to say, no, I don't want to fund a war. You notice there's not a single pentacle showing up here. Pentacles would normally be ones that we're talking about assets, that we're talking about tangible goods. And it's kind of odd that we're asking about funding and there's nothing here showing up that it has anything to do with money. What does it have to do? Smoke and mirrors. In the recent past, they've been trying to throw up all sorts of little false flappy things to get our support, to get people to get on the bandwagon of supporting conflicts and financing them. And those days, they're changing, guys. The current situation, Wheel of Fortune. That's always in any kind of political read a good card to have, meaning we're going from a place of darkness to a place of light, because the Wheel of Fortune never holds still. It's always moving. And in our current reality, it's always moving farther and farther into the light. The light is not where armed conflicts occur. The light is not where there's collateral damage and innocent lives are forfeited and even calculated into the equations. So yeah, Americans and the world in general has kind of had enough and they're waking up. So my thought and hope that is it possibly reflective, not so much as what we're being told or trying to program to believe by the mainstream, that there's anti-sentiments going on, as people just saying, no, I'm aware of who benefits from the aid you send. I'm aware of how it's diverted, redirected, and used. I'm aware of how the incredibly rich get incredibly richer every time there's a conflict. And I'm tired of financing it with the blood of my loved ones and the tax dollars that I've paid unwillingly, but have paid. Let's go ahead and look at the near future. We have a judgment card showing up here. Again, our emotional intelligence is going to bring about a judgment day for this conflict as well as others. And again, I'm not seeing anything that has to do with any kind of HATE here, as much as a growing awareness and discernment. I'm not seeing anything that has to do with the fact that people are just weary. I'm seeing what it has to do with, and again, that is an increase in emotional intelligence. We do get a little advice with this possible card here is to still don't let that make you become the type of person that doesn't support what's happening in other countries as far as an interest and caring and just a humanitarian interest. Okay, we don't want to be isolationist in our hearts and in our outlooks. But it's fine to say, no, I'm not going to fund conflicts. I'll help with humanitarian aid. Let's get a hospital ship over there. Okay, that kind of thing. Absolutely. That judgment is that judgment day and judgment is coming for this situation as well as many others. And it is because of actions taken by our beloved White Hearts, the Alliance. And we're getting told that we're coming really close in the near future to some pleasant surprises as far as in regards to these accountability and actions and the change that's coming. Already out of 7 cards, we have 1, 2, 3 of them, almost half of them are major arcanas, and major arcanas are just a little over 25% of the deck. So anytime they're disproportionate in here, it does tell us that the question is important. Let's look at a couple more cards and see if the universe has further insights looking ahead into people getting more aware of the connections to Khazarian and just how entrenched they are, especially in G7 countries. Whoa, big time. The Star, my ultimate 17. It's a major arcana. Okay, the Star. It's a beautiful card. There is nothing about this card that I don't dearly love, and it is the ultimate one, showing again not only that the White Hearts and Alliance have some heavenly assistance, some divine assistance, but just that at the core of it, even if some have gotten gray, there's still a lot of the White Hearts that truly are White Hearts that are doing what they're doing to help humanity get freed and on the path that they ought to have always been on of growth and ascension. Okay. Then we've got the two of Pentacles. Finally have some Pentacles showing up here. And this card is often, there's a lot of balance involved with this juggling, and it's kind of my 50-50 card. Okay. So what this is indicating to me is that probably as many as half of the people that have some kind of interest and awareness in political items of information, that almost half of them are seeing that there's some connection. They might not see all of them. They may not have heard the term Khazarian Mafia. They may not have, but they probably heard the Rothschild name or some of those connections. Are they starting to connect those dots? According to what we're seeing with the Wheel of Fortune, absolutely, and it's all to the good, taking us here if they do. Two more cards. King of Pentacles. So we finally have some pentacles in the read, but again, they're at the very far. So that moving on, what's going to happen here? The King of Pentacles is about sovereignty. That's beautiful because we're getting some indications here, some independence and sovereignty, and that a lot of hard work has gone on the part of the White Hearts and Alliance to bring about these changes. So absolutely fabulous read. So let's recap. We looked at a proposal that's now being crafted that would hinge any possible Israel aid to cuts in the IRS. It's a brilliant strategy move because even with the Democrats, what are they going to seem to be wanting to support funding a very unpopular department of our government? They're going to be kind of like darned if they do, darned if they don't. And then I had a reader that asked if I would be willing to talk about the rise in anti-sentiments towards people of the Jewish faith. And that's something, just even those words can trigger the algorithms on many platforms. I didn't want to do that because like I said, I thought possibly while it's being billed as a rise in anti-sentiments, and I'm not talking about the college campuses because those college kids have not learned their critical thinking skills and they're all well programmed. I'm talking about the general public that's not supporting funding yet another conflict that's on another continent. That we ask the universe, is it because people are becoming aware of what's the reason for that lack of support? We're being told it's because we're filled with HATE. Okay, but is that really what's going on? Well, what we got was a lot of interesting cards. Okay, the situation as far as why they're struggling to get any support. At first, nothing was about money. It was all about emotional intelligence, and that emotional intelligence is getting stronger and stronger. So people are waking up, even if it's not fully, they're waking up. And I'm not talking about really extended type of awarenesses. I'm talking about how the name Rothschild keeps showing up in matters of kind of shenanigan-laced finances, or the Khazarian Mafia, who've been around for thousands of years. And when you look at, and even though they hide behind other skirts, when you look at what they do, they worship really a lot of evil and celebrate it in really horrible ways. So the smoke and mirrors showed up in the recent past. This is the media trying to sell it to us. Support this conflict. Let's send them some money. Hey, we didn't have money a few years ago to finish that wall, but we can send 10 times that overseas, no problem. All right, well, what's going on? Part of that too is if we send them fiat dollars, the US dollars being less and less welcomed overseas. And if the KM own the IRS and they own Israel, and so we take some money from the KM and send it to Israel, we're just kind of like, here. They won't acknowledge it. They're getting their own money, right? I think it's kind of humorous. The Wheel of Fortune showed up for the present, which means the times are changing and in a very good way. We're moving towards, as our awareness grows of shenanigans involving conflicts, armed situations, and things like that. Judgment Day is coming, absolutely coming. And the White Hearts and the Alliance had two cards absolutely bolster what is behind that. Okay, Now, again, I've heard people say, oh, there's no such thing as white arts anymore. They've all gone gray. I firmly disagree. Some are gray because they were always gray. Some may have become gray, but there's enough, guys. There's enough people and benevolent off-world and divine help that said, this isn't what I made my people to be. This isn't all they should be allowed to be capable of, to have, to explore, to experience. And that's why over and over again, the phrase, nothing can stop what is coming, because it truly is. It's biblical. Okay, so in the future, we do have some nice changes coming. And in the near future, it said pleasant surprises headed our way, which was nice to hear. And again, it was gratifying to see that it's not so much, even though the MSM is trying to sell the fact that there's a rise in anti-sentiments in the United States in general and world also. It's more the fact that people are waking up to how only the very, very, very rich profit and from conflicts. And throughout every conflict we've had for the last 200 years, they finance and fund and enrich themselves from both sides of it. And that awareness is growing. So that's one step towards that waking up process. It's really good. And the universe did confirm that at least is making its way into the collective consciousness. Once it goes deep into the collective consciousness, it spreads out almost like a little drop of oil on water. So let's be part of that if we can. Okay, so that's it for this video. I thank you so much for your time and your attention and your willingness to explore tangents and see if there's connections. Sometimes there is, usually there is, but not always. In this case, there kind of was. That don't let the mainstream tell you people are filled with ill sentiment. They're growing in awareness of a Ponzi scheme to launder money and to have loss of life. And a lot of people are saying, no, not playing that one anymore. I'm not. So good for us. Good for us. Until next time, I send you love and light and wish for you everything bright.